Hello, my name is Matthew, and a few days ago I spent the entire day with my good friend Ben. And at one point we were having a conversation. I was telling Ben about something, and the conversation ended with an incredibly witty response from Ben. One of those show stopping, hilarious comebacks that just absolutely floors the room. And it was so good. We were both laughing uproariously. It was such a funny, surprising comment. And it was so good. Ben even said, you have to tell somebody. And I decided that I would tell you. The thing is, wit is a hard thing to tell in a story. One of the main uh, factors with wit is the timing, and it's hard to try to recreate the speed because one of those funny lines has to be just executed perfectly. Otherwise, it might be funny or amusing, but that sharp wit has to happen right in the moment. You often hear somebody trying to tell these kinds of stories that falls flat, and you say, well, you had to be there. And I'm going to try to do just that. It's unusual that Ben and I would even be spending a whole day together. We're old, fast friends, but Ben is a very busy person now. He has a wife, he has a young daughter, so he's a husband and a father. He's a man of many trades. He always has all sorts of very unique jobs. His projects are unlike any normal project that you would hear from somebody. And I'm very busy myself with my new job and being in a relationship, having my two roommates. But Ben had a job where it required a second set of hands. He had custom built these a large storage unit. He built it in his shop in parts that he could take to the location and then assemble almost like a custom, very well built IKEA unit as far as um, the assembly. But it was very large parts, and they each part was cumbersome, unwieldy, things like that. And we scheduled it to correspond with one of my days off from my full-time job. And it was great. We got to spend the day together, hanging out and talking while we're working. And of course, we have those conversations where Ben will tell me about his family, how his little girl is doing, how his wife is doing, how his various jobs are doing. I would talk about how I'm getting along with my new job and coworkers, maybe a funny anecdote, how things are going with my relationship with my beautiful Spanish girlfriend, how the cats are, how the house is doing, all of those things. Ben, if you're new to my channel, Ben built my tiny house. He custom built the entire thing. It's one example of the unusual things that he might take on as a project. But the great thing about spending a long time with a friend, with an old friend, is at a certain point you run through um, those sort of catch-up conversations, and you start moving into um, uh, funny thoughts that might pop in your head, or a random video that you saw on YouTube, or what you were watching on television. I was telling Ben about the Batman comic. I'm reading The Dark Knight Returns with Steve Donahue, and telling Ben about the season 2 of Has Steve Read It, and how great fun that is. Um, I recently saw Tenet, that Christopher Nolan movie. It's on HBO Max. I have that free trial going on, and just saying how confusing and just how flummoxed I was throughout the entire movie. It has this incredibly complicated premise and a plot that at no point throughout the movie did I have any idea what anybody was doing. I didn't know who any of the characters were. I didn't know what their motivations were. And ultimately, I thought the movie was a failure. I just couldn't invest myself in any aspect of the movie. And there's like these plot twists, surprise turns in the plot that just didn't work on me, because in order to have a plot twist, you sort of have to already know what the plot is. And the movie is 2.5 hours long, which is a long time to be confused. And there's a lot of opportunity in 2.5 hours to have some clarification on what's going on. The movie had a handful of spectacular visual set pieces, really interesting visual elements. It's not a time travel movie. The characters are able to move through time in a different direction, so everything's going in reverse and you're going in a different direction. I couldn't explain it, so I was telling Ben about that. I've been rewatching Friends, so at great length. A large portion of our day is Ben and I talking about Friends. Of course, if you're going to talk about that 90s sitcom, you have to bring up the breakup with Ross and Rachel. Was it a breakup? Was it a break? Which side of the breakup do you fall on? Do you sympathize with Rachel or Ross? Who was in the wrong? And to me, I don't want to say where I fall, because I'm thinking about making a whole video about Friends. But we talked about our favorite Friends character, who was our favorite, who was our least favorite. Of the guys, who do we like best? Ross, Chandler, Joey. The girls, Phoebe and Monica and Rachel. And of the episodes that we like. And eventually I was telling Ben, I was watching a YouTube video, and it was an interview with, I believe his name is David Lee, who was a creator of Cheers and Wings and Frasier. Three of my favorite sitcoms, and three of Ben's favorite sitcoms. We know all of them. We know all the characters, all the shows, episodes, and everything. And this interview was David Lee talking about the creation of Frasier. And Kelsey Grammer approached David Lee saying he's interested in doing another show. And David Lee had great success with Cheers and Wings. Studios are completely open to some new idea that they might have, Kelsey Grammer being a star. And David Lee had this idea, he pitched to Kelsey Grammer of the main character of the sitcom would be somebody that had some sort of injury or ailment resulting in the main character becoming a paraplegic. And so now you might have like a very successful, eccentric person who is now a paraplegic and in bed and has a housekeeper. And so you can kind of see a little bit of similarities from an idea like that into Frasier with Marty and his hip, and Daphne Moon, his housekeeper, stay-at-home nurse, I should say. And at the time, Ted Danson, Sam Malone, decided that he was going to be leaving Cheers, and so that show was going to be coming to an end. And they took this paraplegic idea to the studio network executives, and it was turned down flat. And so they wanted to come up with, they decided to come up with a spin-off idea. And in hindsight, all of it just seems so natural and perfect. Frasier moving back to Seattle and having to take care of his handicapped father, having his even more persnickety, fussy brother Niles involved, having that kind of workplace element that you see in Cheers and Wings with the radio station, but also having all of these dramatic and comedic family elements. But at the time, all of that had to be invented, and that eventually the stars aligned. They came up with all of these great ideas, and we have Friends. But I was just saying to Ben, the first idea that they pitched to the studio network executives was this idea of a paraplegic in bed, and it was going to be Kelsey Grammer. And you know how grateful, what luck that that show didn't happen. The network executives turned it down flat. And Ben responded and said, "Well, it didn't have legs." Floored me. He said, "You have to tell somebody to have a great, snappy response." So the paraplegic concept of a sitcom, it's an idea that didn't have legs. And I don't know. Maybe it had to be there. So leave a comment if you would like, and thank you for watching. Take care.